Hello, people of Connecticut, my fellow nutmeggers. I am here with the amazing Jonathan Anderson. Mr. Anderson. Sorry, I have to say that. It's like
Yeah,
necessary. I don't know why.
every week.
Every week. Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm predictable. I try and be a little predictable. So today, we have been running around like crazy, setting up the debate that's going to happen on Friday evening. It is specifically, it's hopefully for the delegates. We will have some guests, some people who are not delegates, but this is going to be between Betsy McCoy and Ryan Fazio.
hmm
Yes, Erin was invited. She has said she's not coming. We still, maybe we're sort of hoping maybe she might materialize, but it seems unlikely at this point. But who knows? Anything could happen. We're all not dead yet, so yay. And
I mean, she,
what?
she kind of got destroyed on Twitter over the weekend.
Oh, I missed that. I've been,
You were tagged in it.
was I? I missed it.
You responded to it.
I
It was
don't
the
remember.
it was the Connecticut MAGA account,
Okay.
CT
Okay.
MAGA.
Okay.
Where
Oh, right, right.
you
Okay.
were talking about how unorganized the Republican,
Okay. Yeah. All right. I remember that now, sort of.
yeah, I was there. You were there. Half the internet in Connecticut was there.
Yeah. Oh well. I've been with a lot on my plate here. What do you want from me?
Hey, listen, all I know is if she's not liked by Twitter, then the only place that she is liked is Facebook, according to some people,
Hmm.
and nobody really uses Facebook. So I just I think this is a huge misstep for her to not participate in this type of stuff, regardless of what she said in the clip that we showed last week. It
Hmm.
just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't, and
Yeah.
it's tough. I had and I'll admit that there's a bit of gossip here involved, but I spoke with someone who was working in Ryan Fazio's campaign this morning, and
hmm
they said that there's been some interesting, shall we say, bullying going on from Aaron's campaign. So I don't know details on that. I'm just saying that politics is apparently quite the dirty thing. Oh no, we're all shocked about that, I'm sure.
Right. It's like
Oh, and
high school
guys, you
drama.
should know that John Jay here is going to actually be on the panel asking asking the some questions of the candidates.
hmm
So that's, yay, and that'll be exciting. We also have for the other panelists, we have a lady named Mary Fay, who I've not met personally, and Pastor Jake Dell, who some of you know because he's been on the program a couple of times now.
hmm
So it's going to be a really interesting debate. I know Betsy's super excited. I was just on the phone with her. And so it's we're headed into election season like crazy here, and it's gonna be a crazy summer. So all of you guys get out there and talk to your fellow Republicans. We want to make sure everybody gets out to the poll because I'm willing to bet we're gonna have a primary. That's the ideal. And so, yeah, we want a primary, and then which will generate some excitement about, the election among Republicans, because we want Republicans to come out and vote. And we would like
Right.
some of those unaffiliated people who sort of align themselves with, conservatives to also come out and maybe even sign up to be Republicans because we're getting this party back.
Absolutely. And I think this is going to be Ben Proto's last chance to have a candidate win.
Yeah.
And it's looking like the more people realize that Aaron is refusing to debate her fellow Republicans, the less favorability she has. And I think the poll numbers are going to start to come out showing that people want to know why she's not willing to debate
Hmm.
against her own party. That screams a little bit of arrogance and a little bit of we're afraid of putting the playbook out there because we think we're going to get attacked by the left. And it's just like, that's politics. That's how it's
You're
been.
going to get attacked.
Right,
There is no getting away from that. So
right,
toughen up,
right,
cupcake.
right. Like it's a disservice too because if you don't go to these, then you don't have content to push out onto your social media
But,
to try and win the unaffiliated voters.
right.
So she's doing
And
a huge
we're gonna need
disservice.
those. We're going to need
Yeah,
those
yeah.
extra state voters.
Exactly. Exactly. Especially if she's not going around and having people in her campaign get people to register as Republican,
Mm,
then
that's important too.
right, right. So th these debates, it's not really for the candidates as much as it's for the general public to know what we can and can't get out of these candidates, because even if they lose, it doesn't mean that the stuff that they talked about is just going to get pushed to the side. Most
Absolutely.
of the time, these candidates will work with each other after the primary and
Hmm.
give the ideas and kind of have it like they become part of the transition team in a sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're offered positions in the government on the
Right.
governor's team.
Yeah.
So really, this is just to get as much information from these people as possible so we can kind of get the foundation of what these Republicans want to do in this state. And if Erin's not willing to do that, then I just don't know why people would vote for her. As I posted something, and people are like, "Why isn't she willing to vote or debate? Why is there a question mark on her face?" or where her face should be on that little
On the flag.
card that yeah people don't know and they're asking questions and I don't have the answers all other than that one clip that we had.
Right.
So if people of all ages are asking this question and then you see on Twitter that people are complaining that she's not going to be right for the state, um, I think I think her poll numbers are about to plummet because she's this is the thing too. It's like Trump showed us that poll numbers don't really matter, and
Hmm.
she's boasting that she's got this huge lead with polls. And it's like, yeah, but we know that those are bought and paid for. Like Vance said it
But
when he talked to Joe Rogan. They're
yeah.
bullshit. Like for all we know, those polls are like asking people from out of state. Who do you want to vote? Who would you put as governor of Connecticut? A
Mhm.
Republican in Aaron Stewart or a Democrat in Ned Lamont? Of course, the Republicans are going to say
And
Aaron
we
Stewart.
don't even, we don't know who's been polled. We don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Exactly. Exactly. So this is a misstep, and I think that Betsy and Ryan are going to kind of jump in the polls after this debate, and people are going to start to see how much value that those two can bring. Because I have a feeling that if Betsy gets the primary, then somebody like Ryan might become the lieutenant governor.
Mm.
That would be a strong play for Betsy. Just like if Ryan gets the nom, he'll probably make Betsy the
I
lieutenant
think
governor because
people
she has
actually
experience as it.
people actually run for lieutenant governor because Matt Corey, who was in he was in a Senate race a while back. And forgive me, Mr. Corey, we would love to have you on the podcast. We've spoken a little bit. But yeah, it's I find it interesting that you can run just separately for lieutenant governor.
Mhm.
That's very that makes my brain hurt. Not that
Right.
there's anything wrong with it. It's just like it seems like, usually you'd be running as a team, but I guess you can run separately for that. And it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and maybe it's like I don't know what the political strategy around that would be.
Hmm.
Maybe it's sort of like a backup plan because like maybe you can't get the governorship, but maybe you could get the lieutenant governorship, something like that. So
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know what the political strategy is around that. But
Yeah,
yeah.
what I would imagine is it's probably a situation where as soon as the primary ends and we know who the nomination is for the GOP, whoever didn't win will probably get nominated as the lieutenant governor to be voted for by whoever wins the primary. And then they'll kind of throw their weight behind that person because there's not really going to be debates between the lieutenant governors.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah.
So
I'd love to see some debates between oh, the AG.
yeah,
I'd love to see AG debates. I mean, I think
yeah.
we've got some folks running for AG. And I don't even, this would be the whole delegate thing. I'm very new to this, but
Hmm.
we'll see. I know we're voting for congressional rep and for governor, for governor for primary and stuff like that. But I
Hmm.
don't know if we're voting for like AG or if we even have another Republican candidate at this point. I know we have a Republican candidate, which I'd be happy to vote for. Anyone's better than Tong. Thank you very much.
Right, right.
But yeah,
Pong just wants to sue everybody, and he doesn't even have a good reason 90% of the
yeah,
time. It's just like it's that rhetoric that they always use, like, oh, I'm gonna sue, but it's like, really, you can't sue. There's no standing. You're just saying it because you want to get favor from the Democrats.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
He's just,
and
he's probably just doing what his masters tell him, Here, be
yeah,
dramatic and sue somebody.
yeah. Just make it seem like you care. It's like that whole thing with the that apartment complex in Rocky Hill that was going on. I
Mm.
don't know if you
A
remember that.
little bit.
Yeah, so he was like, "Oh, we're going to sue the property managers." And it's like, well, it's not really your responsibility to sue the property manager. It's the people that live there's responsibility. All you're doing is you're just going to make it so that whatever lawsuit you file and win, it's going to somehow change the law, and then it's going to be harder for other property owners that don't have issues
Right.
uh, getting around certain regulations. So that's it's just such bullshit. But I know there was a law that they're trying to pass or a bill that they're trying to pass that's going to give um, people in Connecticut's government that are elected positions, they're going to get free tickets to UConn events, which just is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know why that's even being put into a bill, but that's been proposed by the Democrats, and it's I think it's on the House floor or it passed the House, and it's
Crying out loud.
yeah, yeah.
You know, and these are the people, these are the no kings people.
Right. Right.
What the
It-
hell? Where's my
yeah.
free tickets?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh,
Like do as I say, not as I do is their mentality. And I've seen Chris Lancia posting a lot of crap about Rosa DeLorio. I've seen the comments all over TikTok too. Even Democrats are like, Connecticut, what the hell are you guys doing over there electing
I
somebody like
know.
that?
I've seen a lot
Uh,
of those. Yeah.
um,
It's like,
I mean,
oh yeah, we've got national attention today from Corey DeAngelis, who is he's a big advocate for school choice.
mhm.
And he's like they're pulling up lawsuits. He's trying to create a whole new like teacher union situation so that teachers don't have to join unions. Uh,
Yeah,
and his organization is like the teachers are like flooding in because actual teachers don't like this nonsense that the teachers union's been doing. And then
right.
there's another one. Oh, what was the other one? Yeah, so there's the homeschoolers, and there was another thing. Oh, because Lamont's this morning, Lamont signed the a law that ICE agents can't wear masks in Connecticut, which is
That's
you can't even do
unconstitutional.
that. You
That's
can't.
unconstitutional.
It is totally unconstitutional. It's totally unconstitutional. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Do you, they're
And
just
you talk about fascism. What's more fascist than trying to control what people can and can't wear? Right? Like that's the nonsense that I cannot stand is they call the Republicans fascists, we call them communists or socialists in return. But in reality, people are doing dumb stuff whether you're on the left or the right when you're trying to overreach on these policies. And in Connecticut, like that's the issue that I'm seeing with somebody like Aaron Stewart is it's going to be a situation where Charlie Baker was governor of Massachusetts. Yeah, he was a Republican, but was he really? Right? He was kind of let's just kowtow to the Democrats because I have to work with them and it's the only way to get stuff done. And that's not what we need. We need somebody that's just going to stick firm on budgeting and making sure that nothing is getting passed
yeah.
that is going to affect the Republicans. Because if we have a full 4-year term where it's not a Republican majority, but we have the the
Somebody who can put
governors
on the brakes.
exactly and maybe I think the biggest pressure that we have right now is the electric slash utility costs and Lamont is trying to buy votes by announcing that whole issue of
Oh,
oh
here, have some money back.
exactly
Yeah.
um but then the next problem is Duracell is selling their headquarters
Mm-hmm.
and they're in Connecticut. So that's another massive loss for jobs in the state. We've already lost to other Fortune 500 companies, and we've lost, I think I talked about it like months ago on the podcast. It's been over like 900 companies that have left Connecticut
Lord.
since Malloy took over
Wow.
because they just don't care. And you see the issue going on in Seattle right now where they're saying, "Oh, all these millionaires are going to leave," and they're so arrogant. They're like, "We'll let them. We're
Well,
let them."
I give
But
you
then it's like, "But
caveat.
where's your tax money coming from? You're getting rid of the people that write the checks."
Yeah,
And then they,
I give you Kathy Hochul, who was saying, "Oh, we don't need them," and now she's begging them to come back.
right, right. Meanwhile, we've been begging them to never leave to begin with because we knew that if they kind of stayed, it would be a lot better for Republicans because you
Mm,
have more power and you have more money on the right that can invest into these candidates and invest into getting the left kind of dethroned. But we don't really have that. So if we don't win this election as Republicans, then I think that a lot of people more so than in the past are just going to move out because they can't take it anymore. And
yeah.
we're already a state that loses more people
Hmm.
to leaving than we get in terms of incoming. So as more people leave, that is less money, that is less jobs. And what do they do with these high budgets in the government? Well, they continue to raise them, and because they don't have the people that were paying before, um, they have to raise our taxes. So that's why our taxes keep going up, is because people are leaving because they don't want to be taxed to death.
Yeah.
So that's what's at stake here. And for somebody like Aaron Stewart to just not go up there and talk about this stuff
Mhm.
and let Ryan and Betsy do all the dirty work,
Yeah.
I think it's bullshit. I
She said, I mean, she said, "Oh, we'll debate after the convention." It's like, why? Do you think you're going to be what do you think's going to happen at the convention? I'm like, this is what I'm wondering about. I'm like really
Yeah,
wondering, what does she think is going to happen at the convention? It's like, why is this her magical point? Oh, I'll debate after the convention. It's like,
right,
why should that make a difference?
right.
I'd like to know.
Because it's closer to the primary, maybe, but the
I
convention, that's not people aren't going to be swayed that far out. Like you have to sway people now because by the time it comes to the election, I don't already I probably already knew who I was going to vote for 6 months prior to when we get to that. Right? I
Mhm.
already know who I'm going to vote for now.
Great.
Just because I've listened to people and I know what their policies are. So if you've got people that are like, hey, I do the early research, I want to know so I don't go in like with question marks. The only thing that's going to give them question marks is if stuff comes out about these candidates that they want to vote for, that's going to make them kind of get their
That's why
opinion
they save
swayed.
the negative attack ads till like towards the end of the
Like October, right? They
yeah.
call it the October surprises, the Ides
Right.
of March.
Yes.
Um, so I, Aaron, I don't know what Ben is doing. Ben Proto, that is. I think this is going to be it for him, because nobody's going to be happy, especially with the amount of work that you've been doing, with the amount of work that Jason, Terminator Mom, everybody else has been doing in the space. We are transforming the local RTCs, and there are so many more people that are volunteering now than there were in the past because I think people are just that fed up to the point that they don't want to be lazy anymore.
Yeah.
Um, and I've called people, we're Republicans are lazy, right? We just think everybody else is going to do the heavy lifting for us because we don't want to, because we already work our asses off otherwise. But now, as we get more Democrats that come over to the right, they are so willing to do all this
God.
stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what really is propping up the Republican Party. So
Yeah, and
if
that's
we want to,
nothing wrong with that. It
right.
turns out that the I just had a nice chat with I've just reached out. This turns out the secretary of our RTC is one of those people. And he used to be the chairman of the Democrat Party in Ansonia. And
Mm,
he got shoved out by, believe it or not, our state rep. It's like,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
this is like are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, and there's all sorts of, I just like, again, we're back to a bit of gossip here, but
Mhm.
apparently there's plenty of newspaper articles about my state rep, and and it's like, yeah, she's not a good person. She's not a good person. So
Most of them aren't.
yeah,
Most of them
yeah.
aren't.
I think politics is there is a degree to which it has to corrupt your soul.
Hmm.
There's a lot of temptation there because you are in a place where you have a lot more information that you could take advantage of. There's
Sure.
money flying around all over the place. If you aren't using it yourself, you can direct it and potentially gain influence and benefit yourself and your family. This
Yep.
is all very hard, and this is why it's, having a moral base that is not just humanistic is probably really helpful
Yeah.
because there's nothing wrong with people literally. I mean, from a psychological perspective, people behave better if they think someone's watching them. And that
Hmm.
includes God, or in
Right.
my case, gods. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So it's like people act better if they think someone's watching them. And that's, but cameras shouldn't be the replacement for that. That's a
Right.
really bad idea.
Right. That's the whole notion of Big Brother's always watching, right? Like,
It comes, yeah, yeah,
but people might act better if they think somebody's watching, but not when they think the government's watching them. They just get
right.
really pissed off.
Yeah, yeah,
It's got the polar opposite effect. Like I know like in London, right? And they've got cameras everywhere. You are constantly being recorded.
yep.
And people are like, "Well, I feel
TV,
safe," but it's
baby.
like I don't like being on camera 24/7. And
No,
I know
I
that we
agree.
can't really say much because we've got there you got everybody's got a camera in their pocket now.
Yeah, but that's
Um,
different. That's
right,
different.
right. So I don't know. I'm just fed up with the fact that everybody thinks that they're automatically going to win just because they get endorsed by somebody. And what we know is Trump has gone against the grain in a lot of states for his endorsements.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Betsy doesn't get that Trump endorsement sooner rather than later,
Mhm.
just to
She
get
would
her
love it.
over the t
She has said
right.
she said publicly she would love an endorsement from Trump.
Right. And I can tell you it is probably going to happen because Proto doesn't like Trump. Proto did not do anything to help Trump out. Trump knows this, he recognizes it, and he's not going to go in favor of somebody that is going against what he wanted for the
Mhm.
last, what, 12 years, essentially. So Aaron's not going to get the nomination or endorsement from Trump or really any Republican that is afraid of Trump or is on Trump's side. So it'll be interesting because I don't think Trump has ever endorsed a candidate in Connecticut.
I don't think so. No.
And the other person that we're going to have to be looking out for is Megyn Kelly is probably going to be announcing that she is running for U.S. Senate in Connecticut, and she will definitely get a Trump endorsement. So we've got the ammunition. I think the Republicans have done a phenomenal job of rebuilding the base outside of Ben Proto. Like nobody has listened to what he has done, and you've seen exactly how much we've accomplished by not listening to him, by recognizing how disorganized the RTC is everywhere, and everybody's doing their part to kind of change that. And part of it, you said that Ben Proto has he's still listed as a delegate in Stratford, right?
He is a delegate in Stratford. And you don't
And
have to, I mean, any Republican can be a delegate. You don't have to be a member of the RTC. Uh,
mhm.
I'd have to look it up. For all I know, he's still the chairman of the Stratford RTC, but he's listed as he is a delegate for Stratford.
Okay.
So he gets his vote.
And I believe if you can correct me if I'm wrong, was he an attorney by profession?
Attorney. He's not actually listed as an attorney in Connecticut anymore. He is listed
Interesting.
as an attorney in New Hampshire and Washington, D.C.
Okay. So he could be like a federal somebody that specializes in federal stuff.
I don't know. I think it's very interesting that he's listed as an attorney in New Hampshire and
Hmm.
folks I don't imagine we've got any listeners in New Hampshire, but y'all in New Hampshire, you need to watch out for that guy because he would
Yeah.
probably really like to figure out a way to take over your party in New Hampshire because New Hampshire is, that's still they've got a Republican governor and it's still got they don't have any more federal representation than anybody else in New England, but
Hmm.
they still have local legislature. They still have Republican control there. And I'm pretty sure that if Ben is an attorney there, that I don't know what he can do, but y'all have to be careful because he's done really
Yeah.
bad things here.
Well, not only that, but attorneys, they don't really have a good business sense.
Mm,
Right. That's they're more like they're good speakers, they're good writers,
mm,
but they don't really know the X's and O's of an economy or of getting jobs or taxes. Like they just write the language so that it can't be beaten. So that's why so many people hate lawyers, but putting a lawyer as the chair of the GOP makes no sense because the GOP has always stood for business first. So it should be somebody that is involved in one of the Fortune 500 companies or somebody that is a big business owner in the state of Connecticut should be in charge of the GOP because they get it, they speak the language. Ben has no idea what anybody's talking about. He probably doesn't even know why people are complaining about 90% of the issues that they're complaining about from a small business perspective. So that is not somebody that should be the GOP chair in Connecticut. And I think what happened with Jason was ridiculous. I think part of it was Jason was just a little bit too late at trying to make a play for it.
Yeah.
But
Well, he didn't
I,
know he was doing it until he was doing it. So
right.
it wasn't like that was the plan. It was
It's like you
not.
woke up one day, it's like, I want to take Ben's job.
Oh, he
Um,
got kind of rolled into it. He
yeah.
got rolled into it. It's like he was complaining about it, and he was doing an interview, and they said, "Oh, so you're going to run for chair?" And he was like, "Sure." And it was fun. He
Well,
threw himself into it. I thought it was
yeah.
awesome. So,
But didn't he get railroaded? Like they wouldn't even let him in?
yeah, he wasn't even in the room for the vote.
Yeah.
He spoke with a lot of people. He thought somebody was going to nominate him, and as far as I know, and I have to check this because I was just having a conversation with somebody else because all we do all day is talk on the damn phone.
Hmm.
And that I think I know he wasn't they wouldn't let him in the room when this was happening because he wasn't a member of State Central, but I know for a fact that there were people who were not members of State Central in that room. So that wasn't exactly an excuse. So I would have
Yeah.
to go with a little railroading there. And people who said they would nominate him either didn't, I think they didn't even nominate him. I'm going to have to double check the story
Hmm.
because God, it's been almost, we're pushing a year now. And what,
Yeah.
so yeah, brain fog. Um,
This is kind of reminiscent of the Bernie Sanders Hillary Clinton issue.
oh, totally, totally,
That
very much.
and I don't think people are going to make that connection unless we point it out, but Bernie I believe should have been the nominee
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they gave it to Hillary instead.
Yeah, and he was yeah, because he was very popular. Everyone thought he was going to be the nominee, and then poof, like magic.
Exactly.
And yeah, there was court case about that.
Yeah, and I think that what we're gonna find is Proto is probably pulling the same stuff with Aaron, and
Mhm.
to, that and you say that it does something is off. I found the way that her mannerisms have changed with her public appearances, it has been off. As
Mhm.
if she's all of a sudden got this new confidence behind her, as if she knows what the result is going to be
Mhm.
before everybody else does.
Mhm.
That's kind of how she talks right now. And you can see it in that video that we discussed last week is she's making it seem like she's already the nominee and that oh she doesn't have to worry about anything because she's already going to get the nomination. And
Yeah.
it's like why do you think that? What has been told to you?
Mhm.
Like poll numbers apart, right? Like you can say,
Yeah.
oh, her poll numbers are like 39% favorability, Betsy's like 18%,
Mhm.
Fazio is like 13%. But it's so early, and I don't even think a lot of people even knew Betsy was running.
Oh, a lot of people don't. I
Right,
know that for a fact. Who? You know?
right. So what's going to happen is Betsy's probably going to ramp up her marketing, and
Mhm.
then people are going to be like, oh shit, she was lieutenant governor in the state of New York.
Mhm.
Now she wants to be governor in Connecticut. Yeah, that's a perfect fit.
Yeah.
It just makes
And she
sense.
also, they had a very, very tough campaign. She and Pataki did.
Hmm.
They went to every town in New York. So Connecticut, compared to
Much
New
smaller.
York, is easy peasy,
Yeah,
no
yeah,
problem. It's like, yeah, we're dinky.
right. Well, and to me that it's funny too because Erin has already put so much behind her campaign,
Mhm.
and she's only at like 38, 39% favorability.
Hmm.
And Betsy has put nothing behind her campaign in terms of the public light. She's
Yeah,
done what, a couple
she's
appearances?
literally been face to face and on social media. That's what she's.
Right. And when you think about it, she is somebody that knows how these election cycles work. She knows how the primaries go and what leads up to the primaries. So she's positioned herself to where she is probably just going to start attacking a popularity contest probably within the next month or so. And I think this debate is kind of going to kick that off for her. where
Mhm.
she's going to do this debate, get as many talking points as she can, and just start publishing them on all of her social media.
Mhm.
And people are going to say, why isn't Aaron Stewart there? Who is this person?
Yeah.
Why isn't Aaron there to say this stuff? So I think Aaron is fucking up because she doesn't realize how big of a threat Betsy is, because she doesn't probably understand that Betsy has literally won elections as
Mhm.
lieutenant governor in the state of New York
Yeah.
as a Republican, which is a harder thing to do than to win an election in Connecticut as a Republican. So where's the strategy there? And I know we can talk about this forever, but when we post this, can you put the links on where that thing is going to be streamed on Friday, where the debate's
Absolutely.
going to be streamed?
Yeah. We
Because
have,
I'd like to.
we have, yeah, I can give you, because we've got a couple of different people who are going to be streaming this. It's not Agnes, who I actually interviewed for the podcast, and she's got a big following, but Jason's going to be streaming it to Facebook. And then
Mhm.
we have another fellow, we have two other people who are going to be doing like media stuff. The head of guy who works with TPUSA up in Yukon is going to be
Yeah.
streaming it. So we have a
Okay.
bunch of different streams that are going to be happening.
Perfect.
So I'll give you guys one that I know off the top of my that I can tell you right away. The others are gonna end up in my lap, um, you
And
know, probably by Wednesday. So
and and to be fair, I think if there's anybody that watches or listens or reads any of the stuff that we put out there, if you have connections at any of the local stations, hit them up and try and get them in contact with us so that we can get them to do some coverage of this as well, because I think that's going to help.
yeah, we want
Uh,
as much media as we can get.
yeah, yeah.
And I get it. The media in Connecticut is, if they stream any of it, they're not going to stream the whole thing. They're going to take a clip and then they're going to
Hmm.
cut it and they're going to shape it the way they want to shape it, blah, blah, blah. That's why we're focusing on the streaming. And, you know, the people who watch the news aren't probably going to be our audience anyway. So,
There's also a law in place that says that they have to give equal time to candidates if they cover anything.
are you talking on federal level?
I think on all levels. I think
Because
it's a
as far
federal
as I
law.
know, that was removed by Obama.
Was it?
Yeah, it's called Smith-Mundt Act. And it's like Obama shit canned that thing. Pardon my language, folks. I should swear less. Actually, Jake swears way more than I do. But
Shh.
yeah. Um,
Uh,
Obama wiped that thing out. And there's talk there's talk of reinstating something called the Charlie Kirk Act and reinstating not oh, I know what it was. So and it might have been around the Patriot Act or something where it's like the government is now allowed to propagandize its own citizens. And that was Obama, and I have to look it up. But it
yeah,
like if
yeah,
people want to reinstate Smith-Mundt, call it the Charlie Kirk Act, because they just routinely lie to us. Can we change the subject now?
yeah, absolutely.
So all of this is it's like very pressing and perhaps even stressful. I did take some time yesterday to chill out, and anyone who spends too much time watching politics, really, you should take a little time every day to like get outside, go to church, something that brings your mind down. We can't live in the stress space because you're not going
Right.
to sleep and they're not going to get anything done.
Touch some grass, people.
Yeah, touch some grass. Get out there barefoot. Ground yourself. This is important. It's really important. Play with the kids.
Yeah.
Play with the grandkids. Whatever got. Play with cats. Play with your dogs. Go for a trail ride. Whatever. So yeah,
Or go spend time at a farm.
a farm is good. Ah, yes. Nice segue, Jay. Well done. So one of the things I was super excited about today is that in December, so I'm going to give you a little background here. Um, Farming in America is in big, fat, hairy trouble. And it's not just Connecticut. Connecticut is just one tiny, tiny postage stamp in this problem.
Mhm.
But we have fewer ranchers now than at any other time in the country's history. It's bad. Anyone want you want to what everyone's complaining about the price of beef. It's because we have no ranchers. It's because, and this is because the federal government has made it, there's a monopoly on how ranchers get to process their meat. They get very little money because there is this monopoly. There's four big producers that have been choking the market. And
Mhm.
so they charge a ridiculous amount of money to process beef, which does not cost that much to process. And it really isn't that complicated. And so they've been choking the ranchers. And then right now, there's also, you may have, I don't know if you guys have heard about the fertilizer shortage because Iran is a big producer of fertilizer. And the thing is that everyone assumes that you need to have a whole lot of external inputs in order to grow food. That just isn't true. There is this
Right.
thing called regenerative farming, which, and that's usually because the farm is a mixed use farm. It's not a monoculture that grows just corn or just soybeans or just raises cattle, in a large combine situation where all the cattle are jammed into one place and living on grain.
Yeah.
Cattle are supposed to live on grass. Ruminants are supposed to live on grass, sheep, mostly it's going to be cattle. So when you start combining inputs, then the cattle can produce the fertilizer. It's like magic. It's like magic, people. So that's regenerative farming. And do you want to talk about that? Because you said you took some classes on it.
And sustainability, yeah. And this goes above and beyond typical sustainability. Um, it's so we're, and I think this is a pretty liberal law. Not in terms of what most people think when I say liberal law. I think it's just the conservatism behind it is mo seen more as like a liberal thing, where
Hmm.
people are like, oh, they care about the environment. That's typically on the left, but in
Hmm.
reality, a lot more people on the right have started to take sustainability serious and being kind of preserving the land serious. Now, it's not because of global warming per se. It's just because we want to make sure that our country is going to survive.
Yeah.
And we also understand that there's a lot of waste, and waste does lead to profits, but at the cost of our children. So, for a law like this to get passed, I think it's important not only for the future of American health, but also our food, because what we've seen in the past is the government has come in and told farmers whether it was, and I'm not talking like the cattle farmers. I'm talking like farmers that are producing wheat, corn, whatever.
Yep.
They pay them off to destroy their crops to keep the markets high. And
Yes.
when you're destroying crops, you're destroying the soil because you have to do something to kill the crops, right?
Yes.
You're
Yes.
not going to waste your time cutting it up and then setting it on fire. You're just going to put a pesticide over it and it's going to affect the soil. And then that land isn't going to be usable for at least a season or two, right? Because that's
Mhm.
what most people don't realize is like when you farm on fertile soil, you only have one good shot to do that. And then the next year, you have to pick a new plot of area on your farm that has fertile soil because you can't go back to that initial plot. So, what regenerative farming is going to do is it's going to allow it so that those plots can be reused more frequently than we have to take a year off and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be through pesticides or anything special. It's just going to be through the techniques that these farmers use and getting them the proper money that they can spend on investing in the appropriate infrastructure to get this done. So it's good because it means that food costs will come down because more farmers will be making more money and selling more crops. And
And
states like,
livestock,
yeah.
not livestock, but animal protein. So this was an initiative that came out through the USDA in December, and it's what it's doing is it's promoting regenerative farming. And
Mhm.
I'm super excited because there was some stuff right now. 13,000 farmers have signed up for this program, which means that they will be converting their regular their whatever farming technique they were doing, whether they were doing crops, whether they were doing cattle, that they are going to start have there's going to go we're going to go back to mixed use farms.
Hmm.
And so that means we're making our own fertilizers. We don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about getting it from, another country. And it's because the administration has acknowledged that food security is a national security issue.
Right, right. Especially when you have these global conflicts between Ukraine and Russia, which
Yeah,
cut off a
Ukraine's another, I
huge
forgot. Yeah, they're
supply,
another big supplier of fertilizer.
fertilizer and I believe wheat or rice. I think they're like a huge exporter of that.
Mhm.
So it never made any sense that a country like the US, which was founded on guns and butter, as we call it, um, there were so many people that were farmers, and that's how we got our start as a country. People were self-sustaining. They had farms and they would
Mhm.
go down. That's where farmers markets come from, right? They're trading crops with each other.
Right.
That was the whole point of the US was we just want that freedom to be able to build our own lives
Mhm.
without somebody interfering with it. So for us to rely on other countries to get our food never made sense to me. And I know that these deals were probably done just to satisfy trade agendas, but you're satisfying a trade agenda at the cost of American
Yeah.
health, American jobs, American profits. And that only hurts the country. Like, why do we continue to make policies, whether it's under Trump or anybody else, where it benefits other countries more than it benefits us? And I think that's why Trump has come out and said we need to roll back all this stuff and bring it back to the US. Because something like this is going to really help benefit everybody. It's going to make it so that the US is a supplier versus an importer. And when these global conflicts go on, guess what? Food supply chains aren't going to be interrupted because the US can come in and start exporting to those countries in need.
Yeah.
And that's how it used to
Bread, we
be.
were like the breadbasket of the world for a long time. I think
Exactly.
we still produce a lot of stuff.
Yes.
But we also some of the major issue here is that for growing commodity crops, I'm gonna like so there's just a lot with this farming stuff. Like for
Hmm.
example, we produce monocropped fields are it's just one crop, and you drive through Iowa, for example, and all you see are cornfields. And I've been there,
Yes.
and I've driven through those cornfields, so I know what it looks like. And it's
I go
actually
to school there.
oh, cool. Yeah, except you don't actually go there. You just
Hey,
tell
don't
you.
tell people that. No. I'll be there for graduation. I'll see the cornfields. Don't
All
worry.
right, there you go. Um, so but most of that is not corn for humans to eat. It's a
Right.
commodity crop, which gets turned into cellophane and God knows what else. I don't even know. Oh,
Yeah.
fuel, because people, just so you know, the whole using ethanol instead of, to mix in with your gas is the dumbest idea ever, like ever. It's like oh, wow, what a great idea. What could possibly go wrong?
Hmm.
It like reduces your fuel efficiency, which means that we're actually spending more money to produce the ethanol than we would be if we weren't using the ethanol at all.
Right.
Because you have to use more fuel, and it
Yeah.
takes fuel to produce this because it takes fuel to make fertilizer because corn is what you call a heavy feeder. You have to fertilize the crap out of corn, which is why you
Hmm.
usually alternate it with soybeans, which puts nitrogen into the soil. But you still have to fertilize corn. It's like it's insane. So we're putting fertilizer on something that we're going to put in our vehicles.
Right. And not
It
only
doesn't
that,
make
but
sense.
the fact that we have to use soybeans at all is kind of
And
making
they're
it so that
genetically modified, by the way, and so's the corn.
right, and that's what I was going to get at is that the soybeans being used in the fertilizer for corn that we ingest is causing issues because as most people are aware is soybeans are not healthy. And the research on that has proven that soy leads to a lot of different risks for
It's
people.
not digestible. And no, the
Right,
Indians do not eat a lot of soybeans. They don't.
right,
And it's not even the
right.
same kind of soybeans we grow here when they do anything with it.
Yeah.
It's pet food. Well, not pet food,
Yeah.
it's duck food. They
It,
feed like ducks.
right. And then you've got schools like Oklahoma State University, which have been doing a lot of research into regenerative farming as well. And I know that they've come out with special grasses that are being used at a lot of different baseball fields, soccer fields, football fields, et cetera, throughout the country, where they're basically making special grass that will withstand so much and just be able to grow in basically any type of environment.
Mhm.
And the research that they're doing on grass is going to have major impacts when it comes to something like the regenerative farming, because it's going to allow these crops. Yes, they're going to be modified, but they're going to be modified in a way that's not going to affect the DNA that we're ingesting. Is just going to affect it on a cellular level that is going to allow these plants to survive in harsher conditions.
Mhm.
So that way it doesn't take as much to grow them just as healthy as it did before. And people are gonna be like, well, that's just they're on steroids, they're modified and we can't eat modified foods. It's like, yeah, you can't necessarily go out and try and look for modified foods and think you're gonna be healthy, but there are certain situations where the science backs that we can make this stuff and it's not gonna affect the health of or the nutrients that it's giving off to humans or animals. So that's what OSU has been working on. And I think that they got a ton of money from Biden to continue this research. And then he cut it towards the end, which is so typical. But we have the US government has, I think, a cheese cave in Missouri. I don't know if you know about that. Yeah, they've been collecting cheese for like decades upon decades of years, and they've
Okay.
got like
We have
billions
a
of
cheese reserve.
we do,
Nice.
and I'm trying to think where I'm gonna look it up because it's ridiculous that we have this cheese
We have a
reserve.
strategic cheese reserve.
1.4 billion pounds of cheese stashed in Missouri caves.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
It's the Missouri
Love
cheese
it.
caves are
I love it.
massive converted limestone mines
Okay.
used for storing large quantities of dairy products. It was rooted in 1980s government surplus. These underground warehouses now primarily serve private corporations storing millions of pounds of cheese to support supply chains. So think of that, but with every other type of food that you can think of. If we had like caves like that, then there would never be an issue with our supply chains. And that's what this bill is kind of trying to push to get done in the US with these farms is like we need to grow as much food as possible in the quickest period of time just to prevent anything on a global scale causing the US to have issues. We saw it during COVID with the supply chain crashes. You see it with any international conflict where we have partners involved. And the US was never one to rely on other countries the way that we have over the past probably
Really afford to. We're an
15,
awfully
20
big
years.
country. It's not like, it's not like I mean, a smaller country's going to have, similar problems, but we have a lot of distance to traverse here.
Yeah.
Um, and like I said, our farmers, the number of farmers are going way down. We have this problem in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Connecticut farmers have their unique problems because we've got the whole property tax issue that they have to deal with, and they should not be having to deal with that. They shouldn't be having to pay property taxes on their farmland. That's
Mhm.
insane. I mean,
Yeah.
good Lord, that's insane. Um,
I
but
thought I thought farms got exempt in Connecticut.
um, I don't know if they do, but I do know well, a lot of times what corporations will come in and try and, if a town rezones something on them, if
Hmm.
farmers are busy farming and somebody
Right.
comes in and decides that they want to change the zoning laws, because who pays attention to zoning boards?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
This is
That's
why local matters. It's like pay attention to what's going on in your school board and your zoning board, because this changes all sorts of stuff and you don't even realize what the effect is. It's awful. And if one person takes responsibility for, one little thing, then you don't know who you can change something for, who you can help.
mhm.
And there's nothing trivial about that. It's
Well, it's funny because in I don't know if you have a lot of bats down near you.
Um,
Um,
we have some. Yeah, we have some. It's like when it's in warm summer nights, I will see the bats flitting around, which is awesome.
so there's certain federal programs, and I bring up bats because it's funny, where you can get tax exempt or have your federal taxes lowered if you build bat habitats on your lawn, on your yard,
Sweet.
because they are a
I know
federally
more about
protected animal. Yeah.
that.
So I think a lot of people should start getting creative with how they want to avoid paying taxes. And the best way to do that is to start researching really weird laws that you can use. Because like I think there were even laws like if you had a goat and a chicken, you were considered a farmer in some areas, and you automatically get exempt from taxes. You just have to prove it, and you have to be on more than an acre of land. So if I wanted to, I could put up a couple bat houses, get a goat, a chicken, and something else, and then
Right.
I can reclassify as
Just
a farm under federal
just be
regulations.
careful, Jay, because I
Yeah,
understand that once you get a couple farm animals, then you
they
end up
just
with
keep
more.
coming.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
just keep coming. That's kind of the way it works. Like we have friends in the MAGA movement in Connecticut. They started with 3 chickens and now they've got like 60
Hmm.
because people kept dropping off their chickens.
Yeah. The chickens do lay eggs, so uh,
Yeah, I mean they have lots of fresh eggs. And by the way, if you're going to get eggs, try and get them locally because apparently
mhm.
the ones in the store have been stored for a minimum of like 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah. I think they code them now to show you how long they've been stored.
I don't
Um,
I don't know, but they also they wash them in bleach and there's all
well,
sorts of processing that ain't great and yeah, so
I
try grab
saw
it locally.
I saw a farmer in Texas. I think he was a rancher. He did a story on this on TikTok where he went into a like a grocery store and he looked at a bunch of different egg cartons and he said these all come from the same farm. And he figured out that you could look at a certain like cereal code, something in the cereal code was saying that they were coming from the same farm, and it doesn't show that on the carton. It'll say a different name. So
Right.
in reality, he's like, these are all coming from the same farm, and it's all the basic eggs that most people would buy. But he goes, if you go to the organic stuff, even the organic stuff is,
Same thing.
you have to really find the specialty eggs,
Hmm.
and you have to know what you're looking for in order to avoid the mass-produced kind of situation that we're running into with like mass-produced beef, chicken, even like Purdue and Tyson are the two big chicken
Yeah, and they
farmers.
are horrible. Purdue and Tyson, they treat the people who raise their chickens horrendously.
Yeah.
Horrendous, because the way it works is that the farmers are basically contractors.
Hmm.
They they have this agreement with Tyson. Tyson drops off a whole bunch of baby chicks, and
Yeah.
then they raise the baby chicks under very specific conditions. If it's any variation, they can just like the contract is up and they've spent all their money and they don't get anything back. It's about as close to slave labor as you're gonna get. People
Hmm.
are committing suicide over this.
Yeah, it's just, and then and this is another thing too, is like California, that's why there's such a big issue for this for the country, is the more liberal it gets over there, the harder it gets on the farmers. And I don't think a lot of people realize how much California actually produces for the US.
Yeah.
They
Uh,
produce all of our
Central
almonds.
Valley is actually very fertile. Yeah.
Yeah, they produce all of our almonds. I think all of our
Which is a horrible crop, by the way, and there shouldn't be that many almonds. I'm gonna say
right,
fucking
the amount of water it takes, just yeah.
yeah. It's an
Um,
insane amount of water.
yeah, so anytime there's an issue with water in California, the farms typically don't have to cut as much as everybody else because you have to have the crops going. But I
Right.
think they started to cut from the farmers' water supply
Yeah.
during those droughts because people just kept complaining. And as they get hit with these droughts and they're not doing anything to preserve water, um, it affects the U.S. food supply chain. So unfortunately, we have to start growing our crops outside of California.
Yeah.
And it could mean that we become heavier in corn and wheat than we'd like, but California is not doing anything to preserve their rainwater and make
No.
it so that you can collect it in a basin. I think there's an area out there that used to be this huge. There used to be a huge lake in California, a
Yeah.
huge lake.
Yes.
Um,
Mono Lake.
Yeah. And
I lived out there. There are bumper stickers everywhere. Save Mono Lake.
yeah.
Dried
And
up.
it's completely dry. Yeah. It's completely dry now. And that was the water supply, and they never did anything to replenish it. And
And they
California is just go ahead.
well, they may not now because if it's anything like the RLC, and this is like, yeah, okay, so we're kind of going across the globe here. The RLC was that was Russia had control of that. This was during the USSR, and they decided they were going to grow cotton because they decided that this because the government decided that it was a good idea to grow cotton because they thought they could make money that way, and we've got this area, we've got all this water, fine.
Mhm.
So they basically there was an entire sea called the Aral Sea. It supplied it like affected the environment like all around it. People were living there. They've it was at a big fishing, fishing community. It was this was big, and I've got photographs of it. Um, but oh, you're screen sharing, yay! So yeah, yep, those are the pictures. This is what
Yeah.
happened to it. And
Yeah.
because the Russians decided that they were going to grow cotton, cotton is a water-heavy crop, and they basically sucked all of the water out of the sea. There are photographs of grounded ships there. Now, of course, because there's also a bunch of pollution that was the bottom of the lake that was being held down very nicely by the water and wasn't an actual problem once it was exposed, now it's blowing all over the place. It's changed the, the rain environment in the entire region. This thing's gone. That was it's one of the biggest natural disasters ever that you're never going to hear about. This was a result of central planning, which is what socialism and communism do. It's central planning.
Yeah. And this is the lake that I was talking about in California that I think you were talking about as well. This whole black area
Mhm.
used to be the lake. I mean, we're talking it was a good size of the state.
Mhm.
And this is what was left before it dried up.
Mhm.
Um, Lake Corsican, I think they called it.
Okay.
I'm trying to get a better picture.
I may be thinking of another one. There's probably more than one because they've been mismanaging water in California for decades.
Right.
Because I was there in the 90s.
So this is how big the lake was.
Wow. Holy cow.
Yeah. And it's not there anymore.
Wow.
Um, so that's yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. Um, and they're not doing, and again, people don't realize California is a massive supplier of goods. So we're not talking wine or avocados. Like they do so much.
Yeah.
And
Almost all of our fruits and like the yummy vegetables and what have you.
mhm,
So
yeah.
they
Even
ain't growing that stuff in Iowa.
right, right. I mean, because there's some crops are
Sensitive.
climate specific.
Yep.
So if you don't have the water to back it up, then we have to look at other ways of growing. So it could be that we might start growing peaches in Iowa, right? With
Grapes.
the stuff from OSU,
Yeah.
we might be able to. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And California, and this is why people in California that are farmers have been so heavily involved in wanting to do this regenerative farming is because they understand the importance
They
of keeping their own profits.
Yep.
And what we need is we need the federal government to come in and say that you can start collecting rainwater.
Mhm.
And
This is actually, it doesn't stop because, so there's this whole thing with collecting rainwater, and they're actually doing this in third world countries. And they've done it, there's people who've done it in the United States too. First of all, if you are using cattle to manage land, you can restore desertified land, land that
yeah,
has been turned into deserts. You can use cattle to restore that. And you can use cattle because what they do is they go in, you throw some hay on the ground, and you can do it even with land that's been really like even poisoned.
yeah,
They've used this to regenerate mine trailings. And you throw a lot of you throw hay on the ground. You let the cattle eat it. They go in there, they poop, they tromp all over the ground, and then when it does rain, there's all these little pockets in the earth that the water sinks into. And
yeah,
because they've pooped out all of this, they've pooped out any seeds that made it through their gut. and they've beaten stuff into the soil, then you start to have grass growing where there was no grass before.
Yeah.
And there's ways to do this mechanically as well, where in the third world they like you look for the slope of whatever ground you're on, and a desert slope. You look for that slope, and then you start making, um, it's called swales. And you make, it's like a ridge of dirt that's a little curved so that when the water trickles down the hill, it gets caught in these little curves.
Hmm.
And then, and then you end up with water that doesn't go rushing off the land. It has time to sink in. And then you can plant things there. And this is the way they have, China even has been doing a fantastic job with this. I'm not a huge fan of China, but they've been doing a good job on this one. But it's also been happening in the Sahara Desert and in
Yeah.
India, they've been doing a ton of it.
I was just gonna say Sahara. I just watched a documentary on that where they say that that desert actually it's not always a desert. It's like it's on a cycle where it's like the most green, lush area in the world,
Wow.
and then it'll turn into a desert and it just keeps going back in that cycle.
Oh.
So they're doing so much research into the sand out there to figure out how they can get better soil,
Mhm.
and they realize that it's already there.
Yeah.
They just have to get the water in. And then once they get the water in, then they can start growing stuff in the Sahara Desert, which people are like, how can you possibly grow stuff in the desert? It's like because it's they only look at the top level, right? That's what we're not farmers. We're only looking at what the top looks like. Like, oh, that looks like a weed, that looks like grass.
Mhm.
Um, when you get down into the science of it, crops and grass and anything that you can think of can grow in really harsh conditions. It
Mhm.
just depends on how much you actually have to put into um, farming it and keeping it up to date. And the less stuff that you have to put labor into that grows at a meaningful pace for a yield is better. So that's what you're talking about with this is ideal. And the fact that they outlawed it, they didn't want manure being used in fertilizer. It was just crazy. Um,
Yeah, that's ridiculous. It's completely
and I think part of it was fear of mad cow disease and other diseases that were
something, but there's yeah, and there was also, but the thing is they've been, there's that whole sludge thing where
yeah.
where some crops were, and I don't know if they still do this is like 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago, where they were talking
Mhm.
about, oh, they're using, human sludge. Oh yeah, they just fermented it a little bit, and it's just like that's getting sprayed on the crops. It's like, oh good Lord, yeah, you really don't want to do that. You
Yeah.
want to do that.
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
not a good idea. So,
But like even in like towns in Connecticut, like, you can't collect your own rainwater.
mm,
Um, and I never understood why. Like it's they say
yeah,
it's dangerous for the environment, but it's like,
not
but the
they.
rain is hitting the areas it needs to hit. If I'm just putting out a tub to collect it so I can use it on my crops so I don't have to use drinking water, like potable water. Like,
Right.
what's so wrong about collecting it? And these farms have been basically told you can't collect your own water. I mean, you've got places in the Caribbean where they put lime on their roof, it's a limestone roof, and they collect their water in big jugs,
Yeah.
and the lime filters it
Mhm.
so it becomes drinkable water. Um, the fact that we can't do that in a lot of places over here is just it just doesn't it makes no sense to me. And I saw somebody in Maryland said that they charge you a rain tax.
Oh my goodness, that's just weird. Yeah,
They do, yeah.
I know it's not legal in Oregon. I actually I didn't know if there was some restrictions in Connecticut. Maybe it's some towns. I don't know because I used to collect my rainwater in Trumbull. I haven't here, and it'd probably be good if I did. And we've got a place where we could technically put something, but I gotta take a couple trees down first.
Yeah, I can't do more than I think 300 gallons in a year.
Wow,
Yeah.
is that like a town rule or something?
I think it is town specific, but I think there must be something in the state
We're gonna have to look
bylaws
that
that
up.
say, yeah.
We're gonna have to look
Uh,
that up.
yeah, it seems like we've just attacked farmers for so long in this country, um, which makes
Well,
no sense.
it doesn't, it makes sense if you want to control a population because historically, if you look at, and this goes back way into, ancient times.
Mhm.
It's like if you want to control a population, make sure they're
Control the
not
food.
eating meat.
Yeah.
And because meat, makes people healthy, and they're going to think more clearly, and they're going to be bigger, and they're going to be stronger. Think of the barbarians, like the Northmen. Trust me, they were eating a ton of fish, but they
Hmm.
were also eating lots of livestock and whatever they were growing there. They were not eating, it's like, yeah, they were eating some rye grains, but that was not what their diet was predominantly. They were bigger, they were stronger, and that's what happens when you have a lot of animal protein. In
Yeah.
Great Britain, they had the Enclosure Acts where they cut the peasants off from being able to graze their livestock on public land, and anything, anything in the forest belonged to the king, so you couldn't hunt there anymore. And so this was, and it was like, okay, so then you're reduced to eating grains, which your body doesn't process as well, so you're not as healthy. But this has been happening throughout all of human history. Conquering, it's like, no, don't let the peasants eat the least nutritious thing that we possibly can give them and keep them from eating any meat. And it's like, this isn't really different. And this is happening all over the world. Farmers in the United States aren't the only ones having a problem. This is global. This is global.
Right.
Every
And,
country's having this problem.
and if you don't think that this was an attack on farmers, I would encourage you to look up when veganism started and why it
Ooh,
started.
good
It
one.
started in the 60s and 70s as an exact counter um, to the American cattle ranchers.
Uh,
And if you had to look at some of the laws that were passed around then or since then, you'll probably see that a lot of it has been paid for by PETA and other vegan operations, and that's why um, veganism kind of exploded in the 2010s. I think
yeah.
2016 had the most Google searches for it. I
Mhm.
know some vegans, and they always seem to have health issues where they're not getting enough iron, so they have to take a ton of supplements. But I
B12,
think that
another
whole
one.
thing was propaganda to push people away from meat, so that the government could further control the supply
Mm.
of our products. So, I don't want to put on a tinfoil hat, but I don't think you really need to when you start looking up the facts of when
You
veganism
start,
started
yeah,
and
you start
when
looking
these
at the
laws started
data.
getting passed. Yeah,
You
it's
don't,
kind of obvious.
yeah. I've been studying nutrition stuff since 1998-ish.
Hmm.
And it's really mind-boggling because if you start looking at things like, okay, what causes cancer? Well, it's, this chemical and that chemical and this lack of nutrition and all that. And what does the USDA tell us to do? Oh, the food pyramid, which thank God they just
They got rid
adjusted.
of.
They just
Yeah.
got rid of. It's like, oh, you should base it on grains. Well, you know, figured out in 2000. I've been off gluten, and it's just gluten. It's like,
Hmm.
that's just silly. No, it is
Yeah.
not silly. But as uh, RFK Jr. has pointed out more than once, that the tendency toward people having celiac skyrocketed when they started spraying glyphosate on wheat crops, which
Hmm.
happened, was that, I don't know, it's like,
Montessori. That's they were the ones that were responsible for the spraying.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, Montessori.
You
No,
mean
what is it?
Monsanto?
Monsanto. That's
Monsanto,
Montessori is
yes.
a school system.
Yeah, I was like,
Uh,
wait a minute. What did small children have to do with this, Jim?
Monsanto. Yeah, they were. They're an agrochemical and agrobiocultural biotechnology corporation
Mhm.
founded in 1901. They are the ones that do all these sprays and stuff. So
Yeah.
people have been saying that Monsanto has been giving people cancer because they have. It is their products that are being
Oh yeah,
sold
people
everywhere.
who have been suing them over glyphosate have won, and they're supposed to cough it up. And by the way, if you use any of these chemicals and it says, "Oh, it's glyphosate free," you know what's in it now? You know what's in herbicides now instead of glyphosate? Diquat. Not
And
better.
and
Worse,
ju
actually.
just to kind of give you something to laugh at is they were acquired in 2018.
Bye bye.
What industry do you think purchased?
I know. I actually know the answer to this.
Yeah.
How long do we want to string this out?
Um, it, it- a pharmaceutical company by the name of Bayer
Ah,
purchased
yes.
purchased them in 2018.
Yeah.
So, huh.
What?
Interesting how one company causes damage to people and another and the other company has the cure for the damage caused. That like
How could that be? How could that be? And on that note, the nice thing about the recent farm bill, and this is actually super good news, is that oh, hang on, I gotta find it. Um, it's here. Let's see. Oh, nope, that's not it. The Farm Bill stripped liability protections from pesticide manufacturers, and it was by a large margin. So that was the other good news that I had today. The 13,000 farmers applying for the regenerative agriculture, and that was within days of the launch. So
hmm,
that's really awesome. And RFK is like they have 700 million behind it, and he wants to put another 50 billion into an expansion. So this is Health and Human Services. I'm not quite sure how they manage that money situation. Uh,
mhm.
but it's really important. And so but they stripped the liability protections. Now there's something that's supposed to be going through the Supreme Court, but hopefully the Farm Bill stripping that might just change that completely because the Supreme Court doesn't, if you've got it in law, then, the Supreme Court's going to be like, oh, no, none of our business really. So,
Right, right.
and,
Unless it's unconstitutional. If they find the law itself is unconstitutional, but I don't think that's ever really happened. I think it's just
yeah,
parts of the law that they find unconstitutional.
right.
Um,
Right. And it's like stripping liability from a pesticide manufacturer. It's like how is that a problem? I mean, it's going to be a
yeah.
problem for the pesticide manufacturers and justifiably so.
Well, I think
Could be
what
a
cracks
problem.
me up is the government has overstepped their, but like this whole Spirit Airlines going bankrupt thing really pisses me off because
Hmm.
JetBlue wanted to buy them,
Yeah.
and then Biden and Biden's regime, and it was specifically Liz
Liz
Warren,
Warren,
blocked that deal
Pete
because they said
Buttigieg.
that JetBlue was going to get too big. But even if JetBlue bought
They were
Spirit, it would only get
9% of the
they were
market.
9%, right,
Yeah.
right. And the big four take up 80%. So when I see deals like that being squashed, and then I see Monsanto getting bought by a pharmaceutical company without any problems, it's like, why is that not the one that gets questioned? Why is it the
Just makes you
transportation?
wonder, doesn't it?
Right, right,
Must be a
right,
conspiracy if you even question it.
right. Yeah. Well, I on that note, I think we can wrap up, right? You have
Yeah,
somewhere
I
you gotta
think I
be?
think
Yeah,
we're there. I think we're there. I think we're there.
perfect.
Well, as
So,
usual, this has been great fun.
yeah. And you will link all the
I will link what I have for streaming. There will be more, so tune in on Thursday when we should have all of the links, and I'll make sure that they're in the podcast that I do with Jason on Thursday.
okay.
Yeah, because by then I'll have all the links because they promised to send them all to me by Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I'm even gonna do some QR codes for you guys.
Make it a little easier for everybody.
Well, it
Um,
depends on the audience because we have, because of this debate, the login has apparently been a challenge. And it's like I was thinking, it's like I need to keep track of stuff, and there's no way if someone calls me and says put me on the list, I am going to remember that. It's not going to
right,
happen. It's like
right.
I need a form. I can't do it. But this has been very complicated. I will say that I've had to explain this multiple times and send the link multiple times to the same people.
Not me. I
I know.
prevented you from
You're
having to do
fine.
that a second
You're
time. You
fine.
almost did. And I was like, no, let me look. Let me look. I'm capable. Uh,
No, no, it's people more my age and older. So yeah, this has
well,
been
I will say though, it'll get easier for the next one because I don't anticipate this being the only one that happens.
that's yeah. So yeah.
So,
Yeah. So yeah, we want primaries, baby. We do.
mhm. Yep.
All right. It's been a
All
pleasure,
right.
Mr. Anderson.
Yep.
And
Uh,
all right, so God bless Connecticut, God bless America, and go to your local, buy something from a local farmer, people, because
yes.
they need our help. And there's lots of good ones out there in Connecticut still. So
Absolutely.
milk, eggs, beef, whatever they
T
got.
Tobacco.
Do we still grow tobacco here?
Yeah, we're a huge, I think we're one of the biggest states outside of North Carolina.
I
Yeah.
had no idea. You learn something
Yeah.
new. All right,
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.